Okay, Lamar's going to throw the ball in over to Devin Williams. Devin Williams over to Michael Manette. Michael looks over to Devin. Devin fakes a little bit, shake and bake. Here we go. Oh! Devin Williams! Oh my goodness!
Welcome to New Mexico is a Basketball State podcast hosted by me, Russell Lee Gurule. I got to welcome all of you that have returned, and to new guests, welcome also. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. I'm going to talk about UNM, New Mexico State, the recent lawsuit by head coach William Benjamin of Las Cruces High School, and William Deuce Benjamin and what's going on there down south. I'm going to talk about some players in the summer and the AAU season. The spring tournaments have just finished, and we're about to enter the team camps now here coming up in June and July and that sort of thing. And I'm going to talk a little bit about recent activity. I've taken a break from this podcast because it's just been a lot of drama lately in the last month or two. A lot of people have gotten emotional this year, and it's just gotten to be too much to bear right now, frankly, because it's just like, how can I put it? It's kind of like you can't post anything nowadays without somebody being offended or something like that. It's like cancel culture has evolved here in the basketball community in New Mexico, and it's no longer fun, to be honest with you. You're always having to deal with people who feel like they've been slighted or this and that for some reason. And there seems to be a lot of people out there who think they're owed something when in fact they're not owed something, or they manufacture disrespect or things of that nature because you didn't put them in a ranking, or you didn't talk about their team enough, or you just happen to miss their game. It's things like that. You know, back in the old days, the 90s, when I was playing and when I was in high school, players got noticed because of their game and what they did on the court, not because of a picture or because of a video or anything like that on social media. There was no social media back in the day. It was just a little bit of newspaper print, box scores in the newspaper, which I don't think are on in the journal, William P. Lane Journal anymore, but that's how you got noticed by your game and how well you did on the court. It wasn't whether somebody on Instagram, whether somebody like me covering basketball in high school posted a picture of you or things of that nature. It was how well you did on the court. People talked about you and remembered you. Nowadays, it seems like if you don't get a picture or if you're not mentioned within this group of players, oh, you're being slighted and this and that, okay? And it seems like a whole socialism mentality is taking over in the state where everybody should be given recognition, I guess, for putting on a uniform. Or if you're an 8 and gazillion loss team, I'm supposed to show up at your game or something like that. And if I don't, well, then shame on me for not giving you the recognition for your mediocre performance. Yeah, I'm being a little bit harsh here, and I know that's going to trigger some people, and they'll probably take me out of context on that. But the point is this: you got to earn it. There's a standard to be earned, okay? And the problem nowadays, and the problem especially in these last 2 years, is that a lot of kids are not separating themselves and being the best they can be. They're not putting in the hard work, in my opinion. You know, hard work is when you don't want to do it and you think you can't do it anymore. That's hard work. That's when you reach that level. That is hard work. Okay? It's not, oh, I'll do a little bit here, a little bit there, this and that. And you also got parents now who want to control everything. They want me to promote their kid because it's their kid. What's in it for me? You know? If I rank your kid, oh, hey, I'm great and wonderful. But if I don't rank your kid, oh, I'm the worst, I'm terrible, I don't know what I'm talking about, this and that. You know, that's that cancel culture thing going on. And it's just getting so tiresome. I'm seeing videos on Twitter of refs getting attacked and this and that, and nobody wants to referee anymore, taking all kinds of abuse. And I'm guilty. I've given them a little bit of abuse at times, but I've stopped that. Okay. And we all need to stop that. We need to let refs ref and coaches. I mean, coaches can't even coach the damn team anymore. Excuse my language, but they can't because you're all getting in their way. Now I got to ask, once your kid gets out of high school, goes to college or whatever, trade school, military, and finds a job, are you gonna go show up at the workplace and tell his boss, "Hey, you're not working my kid. You're not giving him the hours he deserves," and da da da? Are you gonna do that? I guess probably not. They'll tell you to get lost, take a hike. But I guess in high school, it's free reign to do that, and it's getting to be very difficult for coaches, referees, media people to be able to do their jobs. It's getting very difficult. I mean, if your player doesn't get ranked, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's been that way for decades and decades, and it will always be that way. Okay? And it's not out of slight. There's no agendas there. There's no this or that. They just have a different opinion than you do. And it's based off of the knowledge they have gathered following your player and everybody else in the state. It seems like in Albuquerque, we forget that other people in New Mexico play basketball, and we forget that there are good players around the state. And let's be honest too, with the towns outside of Albuquerque, I can only go so far, and I only have so much time to do things. I can only go to Cruces so many times. Okay, there's only so many things I can do. Okay, and let's be honest, if you're not happy with coverage or things like that, then I suggest you pick up a camera, pick up a phone, and do something about it. Post things, and I'll gladly repost. I challenge all of you to post your highlights and do that. I've been saying that for years. Repost them and things like that. And so hopefully people start doing that. I hope they do. I wish they would. It's not hard, especially with iPhones. With the technology on iPhones, you can do some nice video. And just post your stats. A perfect example is Alex Alfaro. Of Deming. He posted his highlights all the time. A lot of kids, and I appreciate you tagging me on Twitter. I'll always repost your highlights. I always will. I always retweet them. You tag me, I'll retweet them. I guarantee that. No matter what, I will retweet them. Okay, I promise you that. Okay, that's not hard to do. If you're willing to do that kind of work, I will make sure I can spread it. I got a lot of college coaches that follow me, and I follow a bunch of college coaches and a lot of high school coaches. I'll retweet your highlights. But I'm going to get into my first subject, and that is New Mexico State. Okay, so we all know about Mike Peake and everything like that. I'm not going to rehash all that because that's going to take forever to talk about. But I am going to talk about the recent firing of GH and how Chancellor Arvizo has resigned or retired. And AD Mario has gotten a 5-year extension. But the biggest news of all that is head coach, Las Cruces head coach William Benjamin, who's the father of William Deuce Benjamin, an Aggie player, well, he's no longer an Aggie player, has filed a lawsuit against the university for sexual hazing and things of that nature. And it has come about roughly a couple weeks ago is when that came out, and they had a big press conference outside the Pan American Center, and a lot of things were revealed, and I got my laptop here so I can kind of read this and look at this, and it is very tragic because they did a lot to William Deuce Benjamin. They hazed him along with another player named, I believe, Shaq. He's got a fairly difficult name for me to pronounce. It is, I'm looking for it here, but his name is Shaq. I'm going to go with Shaq with that one. And once I find his name here in this article, I'll get that out to you. Shaq Aduniwu, he was another player with New Mexico State. And they were both hazed continuously throughout the season, and it appears that GH never really did anything about it, according to their testimony. And they've retained a lawyer, and they're suing the university for that. And when you look at the timeline and everything, it appears that head coach William Benjamin he asked a lot of questions and nobody was giving him any answers. And he gave them a lot of time to try to do something about this, do some type of discipline or something of that nature to deal with this situation. And what they did to William Deuce Benjamin is just disgusting. And I believe it's probably true. I'm pretty much there. I'm an innocent until proven guilty, but I think that this one there's enough there to stick. And if all of this is pretty much true, which I think it is, there's a lot of sexual perversion going on over there with these players that were there last season, and it's disgusting. And it appears that no boundaries were set, and it appears that New Mexico State was going to just ride off into the sunset and hope this thing would disappear. And to me, that's disgusting. They didn't deal with it. Chancellor Arvizo would sit there and say, "Oh, I'm disgusted by all of this, and we're going to fire GH." He becomes the scapegoat, and then you find out that these people that were alleged with hazing are still doing workouts and things like that after they have shut down the season. And then Chancellor Arvizo is no longer chancellor because he's retired. On the last day, he signs a contract extension of 5 years to be added on to AD Mario's present contract, giving him 6 years, and none of these players are, none of them are punished or anything like that. New Mexico State Police is still investigating. Nobody's really wanted to file charges there. Makes me kind of wonder what's really going on down there as far as the whole situation is concerned. And so it looked like William Benjamin had to do something and speak up for his son and also for Shaq Adaniwu. It's a difficult name for me to pronounce, but they did something. They had a press conference. It's gone national, and unfortunately, William Deuce Benjamin wasn't allowed to stay at New Mexico State for newly recently hired head coach Jason Hooten, who's come from San Houston State. And hopefully he finds a spot, and hopefully he finds his fire, because he has stated that it has changed his life. And I imagine it would, going through something like that. You've got a place where you really, really want to be, and this is where you worked hard for, and then now all of a sudden it's all gone and you got to start all over again. And I'm hoping he finds that intensity that he had his senior year, because he had a ton of intensity. They still talk about it. I've even in the summer before his his senior year, I still hear stories about the things he did on the AAU scene. So I hope he finds that intensity. And, looking back on it, I saw a red flag with GH. It seemed like he wanted to be more of a friend to the players than their coach. And so there seemed to be a lack of boundaries, and it seemed like anything kind of goes over there. And now Jason Hooten has the big challenge of cleaning the whole mess up. He's basically rescinded any offers that have come from GH. That's what it appears anyways. And he looks like he's just purged the whole program of anything GH had his hand on. So we'll have to see how this thing plays out. I can't really speculate on this one, or where it's going to go, or who's going to get charged, or if they're not going to get charged. If there was any speculation for me, I suspect that maybe there'll be a settlement there, and it's a whole new team, and so it's going to be hard to predict what they're going to do next season. They'll be entering Conference USA. But there's one thing I want to point out too, though, that kind of irked me. It really kind of irked me, actually, is because when they fired GH, they said, "Oh, don't hire a JUCO coach next time. Make sure it's D1." Well, I want to point out that Chris Jans was a JUCO coach, and he had 1 year at Bowling Green, which was a D1 university. And I guess that 1 year he was able to wipe off that JUCO filth, and now he's fully qualified to coach at New Mexico State. I mean, we need to think a little bit deeper before we jump to conclusions. Coaches can coach, and so I get annoyed when JUCO or another division like Division 3 or 2 or NAIA get that bad rap all because of a situation here. No, the bottom line is GH GH didn't, he didn't lay the law down. That's what it looks like to me. And a lot of people suffered, and a lot of people's lives have been changed. And that's unfortunate because he brought a lot of excitement to that program. And right now, it just seems like Hooten is just kind of quiet and just doing what he needs to right now. So with that, I'm going to move on to UNM. Okay, UNM has been recruiting quite a bit, and they've been doing pretty well. So the bottom line is this for me. Okay, this is my mantra for next season for the New Mexico Lobos, and that is this. We're going to find out if Richard Pitino can coach. We really are. You look at his record, and I'll put it up there. You look at his record, he's essentially 500 right now. And I got to see if he's going to be able to coach. Can he really coach? That's the bottom line. It seems like anything exciting or anything that can be construed as building excitement in the program is always connected with his father, Rick Pitino. And he's been basically living under that big shadow of Slicky Rick. He's been living under Rick Pitino's shadow all this time. Will he be able to get out from underneath that? That's very hard to do, especially Rick Pitino is in that league with Bobby Knight, Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith. I don't know if you can do that, but you look at his record and everything else like that. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to coach this team and take it farther than it ever has been. That's the bottom line. Can he coach? We're going to find out if he really can coach, because you look at his record and there's a lot of inconsistencies there. There's about maybe, I'm going off the top of my head, there's about four or five 20-win seasons, and that's it in 11 years. And you look at his only 1 year at Florida Atlantic, and then he gets hired by Minnesota, and they give him 8 years, and that was a pretty long time for Minnesota. And they fired him, and nobody was begging for him to stay, to be honest with you. So here he is at UNM. You know, his back is against the wall. I want to see Richard Pitino fight, and I want him to be his own man. I want him to step out there, be his own man, have his own opinions, go out there and do things on his own. That's what I want to see. And I don't want to see Rick Pitino around, to be honest with you. I want to see Richard do something and put his mark on this program. So my question is can Richard Pitino coach? Because we're going to find this out this year. That's the bottom line on that. So, I mean, as I look at everything that's been going on, it's a new summer. It's a new summer, and I'm trying to find the words really to. The world is changing right now. I mean, that's the truth, and I think we're all stressed out, and we need to take a step back, and we need to start researching things. And we need to calm down. We need to really calm down. You know, just to recap everything, we need to let the coaches coach. I'm going to touch on this topic real quick. Sean Jimenez of Cleveland, he has just recently resigned to be with his family. And now they have hired former Santa Fe coach Zach Cole. He's now former. He's now the head coach of the Cleveland Storm. So that ought to be an interesting thing. William Benjamin of Highland, of Las Cruces applied for that job along with Justin Woody of Highland. And so there was some pretty high level coaches here in the state applying for that job. It's a really nice job. So Zach Cole has got a lot on his plate right now, and he's going to take over a program that frankly Sean Jimenez did a really nice job with. And if I was to speculate, I think Sean was just tired of it all. If I'm just speculating, I think he might have been tired of it all. And it goes back to what I'm saying. We need to let coaches coach and referees referee and players play. And to get back to what I'm saying, players, you need to just play. Just play. Stop worrying about the validation, because back in the day, hardly anybody got it. You had to earn it. It was a high standard. And nowadays, it just seems like you get concerned and upset over being ranked 50th in the class of 24, and you think you should be better than the 45th player ranked in the class or something like that. And you just need to chill and let your game stand out. And to all of you parents out there, let them play. Let them play. Life goes on. It truly does. Just let them play. That's been my hashtag. That's been my motto. Let them play. And players, stop worrying if you don't get mentioned or not. Stop worrying about it. If you take care of business on the court and in the classroom, you will eventually get mentioned, okay? Just keep working. It's not about getting mentioned on social media. It's about winning, and it's about getting that college scholarship if you're good enough. That's the bottom line about all of that. If you're good enough, they will find you. That's the key, is if you're good enough, they will find you. And so with that, I'm going to go to the second take. I'm going to talk about the players that have been playing here in the summer. I'm going to speculate again about who's doing well and this and that, and go over that a little bit. So stay tuned for that second take. All right, so let's get to the second take. Let's talk about the AAU spring season and how that went down and how everything played out. We had a few players that really started to rise to another level and are getting some attention outside the state, and it's getting to be exciting to see. We've also had a lot of commitments, and a lot of players have signed, and when you look at it, though, it's about the norm as it always has been. There's probably a little bit more flash this year than it has been in past. A little bit more fanfare, but it's about pretty much the same as far as commitments and signatures and players signing letters of intent to go to the universities that they've picked and that want them. So that's exciting to see, and I think we can get even better. And New Mexico high school basketball is in a transitional type of period, and I think it could be a lot better. It just needs to be tweaked. It's not broken. It's not broken, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to touch on this before I get into the players. When you look back at New Mexico high school basketball, it comes down to the leadership. It comes down to how things are done administratively and how things are set up across the state. And I want to reiterate, I'm going to say it again, New Mexico high school basketball is not broken. It just needs to be tweaked. We've had players here that have left the state that are getting D1 offers and are getting attention. We've had players that are getting attention from major schools, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, TCU, goes on and on and on. And if they had stayed here in the state, my top five would have been probably nothing but players with D1 offers. It would have been quite a season. The prep schools, the traveling prep schools is what I call them. I don't know if you can really call them schools. Because basically they go to a regular school and they travel around the country, have changed the game a little bit. I don't know if you can say for the better or not. It's still very debatable. But if those schools hadn't existed, you would have a lot of potential D1 recruits. I could probably name up to about 7 or 8. And that would be just in 1 year alone. And then the next year, you would probably be roughly around the same. So the talent level in New Mexico is still very good. It's just a matter of deciding how to get there and what to do. And I think the media coverage would go up exponentially and then be a lot more exciting than what it actually is if all these players were here on one court. And that's what we need to look at. We need to realize this and realize that New Mexico can be a truly basketball state It is there. It's not broken, ladies and gentlemen. That the people I believe that say that are the ones that want what they want, and the heck with everybody else. Instead of just making the system the way it is work for them and petitioning to make it a better system, that they've gone to other avenues, and they may or may not even be better. That's the point. Those prep schools have to deliver, and that's the point. And you got to look past all the flash and see where the cash is. See if it's actually truly working. You really got to analyze it and look at it and see if it's actually working. But with all of that, I want you to consider that, ponder that, and if you're willing to do that kind of research, you will understand what I'm saying. We already have a lot of D1 recruits, and it's not really because of the prep schools. It was already there. These kids were good enough to play college basketball on the D1 level, and that's being shown by the offers that they're getting. They were already good enough. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Okay? And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to get that scholarship here. We just have to tweak it. We have to get the stats right. We have to have coaches, everybody get their stats in. We have to look at tournament sites and things of that nature. We have to deal with streaming. We have to deal with all these different issues, shot clock, and all of those things, and really, really start working towards a common goal. But it takes leadership. It takes leadership from the New Mexico Activities Association, the Coaches Association, and the state legislature and the state government. Hopefully they can get it together. I don't have much faith right now, and I suspect a lot of you don't have much faith in them either. But that's that. So it's got to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. It just needs tweaking. It's not broken. But I'm going to get into the players here in the AAU Spring season. And the one guy that's really standing out, that is getting some attention, is Oregon Mountain's Branden Wilson. Branden at 6'5" is really turning some heads. He's just a load in the paint, and he's difficult to stop, and he's getting that mid-range jumper, and he's beginning to show an outside shot. This is a guy that if they give him the ball the whole time down there at Oregon Mountain in Las Cruces, he could potentially lead the state in scoring and possibly be a Player of the Year candidate. It's a real possibility. He is just that tough to guard, and looking across all the rosters around the state, I don't see anybody can really stay in front of him because they're just not going to be strong enough. He's just a really strong player, and he's adding a lot of skill to that strength, and so he's definitely one that should get a lot of attention next season, and media should pay attention. Definitely pay attention to that. And he's got a nice team coming back. Lenny Washington hopefully will be back. I don't know the status, but I'm excited to see what he can do next season for the Oregon Mountain Knights. And High Wilson, difficult name for me to pronounce, is another athletic player that's going to play for them. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what Oregon Mountain does. It could be a team that's in the running for a state title next season. And moving on, two other guys that I think, looking at my sheet here, have really stood out is Jalen Holland. Jalen Holland, in my opinion, is still the best player in the state, and he's just racking up more and more offers. He's just getting the attention of a lot of D1 schools, and I see him potentially being a top 100 prospect in the national recruiting rankings. And if he's strong at the end of the summer here before school starts, I think he could really go up, and we might start seeing some big names go after Jalen Holland. And I've seen some video of the Los Lunas Tigers, who he plays for, and they look pretty good. They look like they got some momentum. They had a semifinal loss last season to Sandia, and I'm kind of seeing them as another potential state title contender for sure. And like I said, two names. Kenyon Bueno, he just received an offer from New Mexico State, Volcano Vista's Kenyon Bueno, who reminds me an awful lot of former Lobo Ramon Martinez. He is definitely making a name for himself. He's looking more athletic, and he's just a very high IQ basketball player. Basketball IQ is up there. It's up the charts, and he's showing a lot of good, solid fundamentals. And so the Espanola native is really doing nice work out there on the court. And he's another one, a player of the year potential candidate. So I see Brendan Quirez, Jalen Holland, Kenyon Bueno. I see those guys kind of separating themselves from everybody else. Got high hopes for David Gutierrez of Volcano Vista and Hudson Brown. I think they're going to be solid for the Hawks, and they're another contender. You cannot count them out because Coach Greg Brown, he's at another level, and I've said it last year, and I say it again this year. He's at another level, so you cannot count them out. They're another state title contender. Another group that's interesting, excuse me, is Hobbs. Abraham Pena is really separating himself here in the spring, and he did really well in the AAU tournaments that I saw in Oklahoma City and also in Phoenix at the Bash in the Desert. And he was a guard that was close to about 20 points a game last season, and he was playing alongside Michael Mackey, and so he's doing some impressive stuff, and he's doing it again this summer. And I look at him and I see him as another top 10 player in the state. I already see him as one of those, and I think he's going to have a big junior year, and we're going to start seeing colleges take notice of him. I feel confident in that, and he's also going to have a running mate, Braylon Vega, who's going to be a sophomore, a really nice outside shooter, and I see these two being a really solid backcourt for the Hobbs Eagles next season. They also have 6'10" Parker Henderson, who should be a nice component in the middle. All he has to do is protect that rim and rebound, and the Hobbs Eagles are another team that will be definitely fun to watch next season in southern New Mexico. And as I go down the list, I got to mention Julian Arroyo of Lovington. He's been a really nice player, putting up above 15 points a game, and he's a nice outside shooter. And he's just going to get better and better, and we'll see if he gets some help there for the Lovington Wildcats and see how they do in 4A. So keep an eye out for him. He's another one there in eastern New Mexico that I think is going to make some waves and get some attention. And going through it, I got to look at Etrisco with Latavius Morris and Marquise Renfro. I have high hopes for Latavius Morris becoming a playmaker for sure. If he becomes a playmaker and lifts up his other players and team, his whole team, as far as his passing and things of that nature, he's really going to shine and have a big year, in my opinion. If he can up his assist and get his players better. That's the bottom line, because he's got a lot of skill to do that, and he can shoot outside and get into the paint, and he's great on the fast break. And Marquise Renfro is just a bundle of energy and excitement, and I think they could really be a nice duo and be pretty solid in District 1. I'm not ready to say they're a state title contender yet. I got to see who else is going to be on that roster and see how they do in the summer here when the team camps and then the preseason camps and stuff like that happen before the season, the school year. And Academy, I got to talk about Academy. Academy, very good at passing the ball, getting the good, easy shots with Joe Jack, Justin Mask, Dylan McCleskey. I'm really excited about these guys. I think they can come back and repeat as state title contenders. They won the state title in 4A, and I think they can do it again. And we'll just have to see what kind of buzz they generate, but I see them possibly as the top contender right now for the state title in 4A. It's still very, very early. I mean, honestly, if you would ask me these questions maybe a year ago, it would have been a different complete story, but things can change. And so then we got Cleveland, Daniel Stevenson, and Remy Albrecht. Those guys are going to be pretty exciting, but there's just a lot of question marks because Zach Cole takes over now from Santa Fe. He's moved over to Cleveland and accepted the job. Sean Jimenez has resigned from Cleveland, and so it's a lot of questions. But Daniel Stevenson is a top 10 player, and I'd like to see how well he improves and see where he takes his game. Remy appears to, from video clip I've seen lately, he appears to have gained some some muscle and gotten a little bigger. And that should be another exciting backcourt. Another group that I like is Farmington's Cody Vasserstein and Mikey Beck. Mikey Beck, you haven't really heard of. He averaged about 8 points a game. He's coming into, I believe, his junior season. He is going to be one that I think is going to get above double figures and really do some stuff. That's if he's added some stuff to his game. And Cody Vasserstein is a really athletic point guard, and I'd like to see him get a little better from the outside. And if he can do that, he's just going to be, sky's the limit for him. Sky's the limit. He's going to be very tough to guard. He did really well against a lot of Metro teams last season. Another guy that I'm excited about is St. Pius's Kenny Zamora. Kenny can score on all three levels, and he's really, really standing out here in the AAU season and doing really well from outside, getting to the hole, the fast break. I think he's going to be a surprise for a lot of people, and we'll start talking about him by December of next season. I really think that he's going to do well, and he's going to be definitely right now. I think he could be an all-district player in 4A. And moving on, we got another very athletic player that I've discovered is Espanola's Jarek Dutta. Jarek Dutta is doing some nice things in the AAU season. He's scoring from mid-range. Haven't quite seen his outside shot yet, but he definitely is very athletic and creative around the rim. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does for the Espanola Sun Devils. Definitely one to remember, a name to remember for sure. So let's move on to Sandia, Thomas Adams. I think Thomas Adams is going to be a star, to be honest with you. Thomas Adams, he did really well in the state championship game, 5A last year. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that could potentially average 20 points a game next season from outside. He's got the size and the strength to get inside and do some things. And he's definitely somebody that the other opposing team is definitely going to game plan for. And he's going to be one that I think is going to make some waves here in the future next season. El Dorado's got a nice duo, Michael Knobb and Josh Jackson. We'll see how these two perform together. Josh Jackson does some great stuff in the paint area with the rebounding and things of that nature. And Michael Knobb showed a nice mid-range game in the paint. And so we'll see how they do and how they are able to compete next season without Caleb Parham. But I think they'll do just fine. That's the thing. Michael Knobb is 6'6", and Josh Jackson's around 6'3", 6'4". I think they'll be a tough duel, and I think they'll both average double figures next season. La Cueva, Cam Dyer, this guy is really strong. Bench press, he squats over 350 pounds. Enough said right there. But he's got a nice basketball game, a really good football player, and he's got a nice basketball game. I'm seeing him getting to a point where he could potentially be an all-state player for sure and really make some waves for La Cueva and be their top scorer. That's what I'm seeing with him. You got Daniel Lovato at 6'6". He's a tough, good inside big man. He's going to be a load right there for them, and he's going to be difficult to guard, and he's going to get a lot of rebounds for them. I have high hopes for him and that team right there. And I think I got to find out the status, but Eric Jacobson might be coming up from JV and play for La Cueva, or he might go on the prep scene with his brother Daniel Jacobson, who's over 7 foot tall. So we'll see if Papa Jacobson has Eric play for La Cueva or not. We'll find out. I'm just speculating here on that. I haven't heard any word, but I think he's one at 6'6" that can shoot the ball outside and does nice in the paint. I think he's a nice component for them, and this could make La Cueva a really, really tough team if they gel together. So they got some nice stuff going on there at La Cueva. Mayfield's AC Munoz, possibly the top shooter in the state. We'll see. Yeah, if he keeps working hard and adds to his game, a pull-up jumper, and gets to the rim a little bit more and improves his athleticism, he could definitely be a top player down south in southern New Mexico. He will definitely be somebody that will have to be game planned for sure. He can definitely shoot outside, and it's just a matter of putting things together and getting stronger for him. But he's another one to definitely keep an eye on. You got Rio Rancho's Jaden Johnson. I'm looking for Jaden Johnson to blow up. I wish he would. I hope he would. I hope he will. I hope, he's a guy that can throw it down. He's tough inside. He's very athletic. And he just needs that aha moment, kind of like I talked about 2 years ago with other players, that aha moment. If he gets that aha moment, he's definitely going to be in the conversation as an all-state player for sure. He's definitely somebody that you want to go to Rio Rancho High to see. Jaden Johnson has that kind of potential, and if he can put in a big season, a Michael Mackey type season, wow, could happen. Maybe. You never know. I'm just speculating, but it could happen. He's got that kind of ability. Hopefully he puts in the work this summer, and you got all summer to do it. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed on him. I'm keeping an eye on him for sure. And you got Alamogordo. I'm going through this kind of fast. Alamogordo's Demarion Smith. He's going to be stepping up here pretty soon. And he looks like a pretty athletic player from inside and outside. And you got Kai Beckham, who is a really solid three-point shooter. And I hope he finds his passion. He seemed to have a rough season last year. And I hope he finds his passion again for basketball. And you got Jason Warren. And so they got a nice core right there. And this was a team I thought was going to be really good last year. They lost 2 key players from last year to the preps, and they were a team that I thought could potentially be a state title contender, and it didn't happen, and so they had a rough season. But hopefully this year, now that they got some chemistry and they got some nice players coming up, I think they could be pretty solid. So keep an eye out for the Alamogordo Tigers. Next up is Santa Fe's Lucas Turner. He's a really good player for them. He's done some nice numbers, put up around 20 points a game. He's another one that's all-state, that could be all-state. We'll see how it goes, because he's going to have a new coach now, and we'll see how they use him. But he has that kind of ability and talent. He's got nice pull-up, three-point shots, really good, creative around the basket, and he's been doing a lot for the Demons as Santa Fe High. Another guy that I'm looking at is Shug Velez of Las Cruces. He's a really good outside shooter, and he's going to team up with Bird Navarez, and we'll see how they do. They've lost a lot of players. They lost Caleb Carr to D1 Central Arkansas, and so we'll see how they do, and we'll see what kind of team they have next year. Still a lot of question marks. I'll just have to check them out and see where they're at this year, but I have faith in them. Another player I want to talk about is Santiago or Santi Gonzalez of Rio Grande. He's a nice one. The lefty is pretty strong in the paint, and he's been getting some points and developing his shot, and he's one that finishes well at the rim. And I'm curious to see how he does this summer and how he improves. I think he can definitely make an impact for the Rio Grande Ravens, who had a nice season last year. Now we're moving on to Los Alamos, and Los Alamos is looking really stout this year with Nico Garcia and Josiah Fresquez. Both of them have averaged above 15 points a game. Really nice outside shooters. This guard tandem could really do some damage next year, and I think they have given what's available this coming season, I think they have a potential chance of winning district there in northern New Mexico and making a state tournament run. I'll have to see more and see how they do. But Nico Garcia has been on varsity for about 3-4 years now. I think this is going to be his senior season, so definitely keep an eye out on him. He's one that can definitely really light it up from outside, and he's a big, strong kid for sure. Definitely check him out. You've got Santa Teresa's Eric Saldana. Eric averaged about 17 or 18 points a game, and he's been putting some nice highlights, and he's definitely one to watch. He gets to the rim pretty good, and he shoots outside at a nice proficiency, so definitely watch him in southern New Mexico. You also have Valley's Tyler Kozlowski. Tyler is a very good three-point shooter. And it'll be interesting to see what he develops this summer as far as his game, see if he can get to the rim and see how he does against competition in 4A as far as getting to the rim and adding things to his game. So he's definitely one I'm keeping an eye on. You have Highland Highland has Jesus Lecon, Asai Herrera, and Raul Stanford. This group should be interesting to watch. I think they all have good potential. Jesus Lecon was really solid last season as a sophomore, and we'll see how he does this season. Yeah, potential 15 to 20 point scorer a game. And Asai Herrera, I'd like to see how this lefty does, and because he shoots really nice from outside when he's on fire. So definitely watching those guys. And then Gallup, you have Tristan Trushini. Christian is 6'5" for Gallup, and he seems like a pretty solid player. I haven't seen too much of him, and so I'm just keeping an eye on him. So I'm just getting his name out there. You got Centennial's Osaya Aguilar. He is one that is a really good point guard for them, and he does everything for them. So we'll see how he does and how Centennial does this season. They're really working on developing a program there, and they got a lot of tough competition. The whole Las Cruces area is getting a lot stronger basketball wise. West Mesa's Elijah Brody. Elijah is a very athletic big man, and I'd like to see him go to the hole more and just go straight towards the rim. And he could be a potential 3-point play guy all season long and make his living finishing at the rim and finishing at the free throw line. He does that, he's going to score a bunch of points for the West Mesa Mustangs for sure. Definitely check him out. He's already going to be an all-stater. He's another one that's going to be game planned for sure. He's going to be difficult to stop. You have these guys, I have not seen them play in person. I'm just going off their stats, and I'm going off their years over at Clovis. Champ Gooden and Marvin Cox. Marvin Cox is 6'5", and Champ Gooden is a little bit above 6 foot. I want to see how these guys do. They have the potential to be a solid duo. They averaged double figures last season, and we'll see if they up those averages, and we'll see who they have coming up there at Clovis and see how strong they are, come next season. But I'm keeping an eye on those guys, and definitely keep an eye on them. They look pretty good. They look like they have the potential to really make some noise next season. You also have, I'm not sure, I believe Cibola's Elijah Foster is coming back. I believe so. I'm not sure on the status, but he was definitely a really nice player to watch last year. We'll see how he does. He averaged about 15 points a game, and we'll see what kind of mark he makes. He could be a dark horse. He could definitely make some noise for sure next season and improve on that average and be one of those players that's tough to guard. Shoots well outside, and he does make some nice plays in the paint. You also, coming up is Goddard, Christian Zapata. He's a big, strong kid. I've only seen film. He's a little bit above 6 foot, and he averaged 11 points a game last season. He's coming into his senior year, and I'm going to see how well he does, and I'm going to keep an eye on him, and so I'm just getting his name out there right now. And then you have Bloomfield's Andrew Flores. He had a nice season. I'm going to see how he improves on that. He's a guard that shoots pretty well from outside. I want to see how well he does next season. And he's just another one I'm putting the name out there. And so keep an eye on those kids. And then Valencia's Damian Estrada. I saw him once. He played really nice against Highland. Had a nice big game. And he shoots well. He gets to the hole pretty good. And he's a nice defender. So I want to keep an eye on him for sure. Now I'm getting his name out there. And so there's plenty more players that are coming up through the ranks, and it's just a matter of, how well they perform. You got all summer to work on all these things. You got all summer to put the phone down, turn the TV off, and do what you need to do to get better. And remember what I said, hard work is no fun. You got to keep doing it to the point where you don't want to do it, and then you got to blow past that feeling and finish it off. That's the bottom line. And we're going to find out more about these teams and find out more about these players during the team camps and see how that plays out. And again,
again, it's always iffy. Even before the start of school, it's always iffy as to what kind of team they're going to have. You'll see a couple teams that are pretty solid by that time, and you have a pretty good idea, but then you have a lot of teams that are still working things out. So that's just basically an update of the spring season right there. There's probably a few more players that could be mentioned, and I'm sorry, I apologize if I didn't mention them. Don't get hurt about it. Again, I got to go back to that. Just calm down. Keep working. Keep getting better. Keep making yourself available out there by putting up those highlight videos and showing people what you're doing. And keep working hard. That's the bottom line. So with that, I'll update you about Section 7. I'll see, Lord willing, if I get to the chance to go back to Section 7, which is in Phoenix, the big tournament. So far, Cleveland is going and Los Lunas is going. I imagine there'll be another team or two that are going to go to Section 7. So in about a month or so, I will update you on those things and those results if I get that opportunity to go. I'm waiting on media credentials and things of that nature. So with that, I got to finish it right here. I thank you for watching. I thank you for playing. And I'll see you next time. You have a good night.